Today's going to be a great day. How many of you here actually said something similar this morning? How many of you truly believe that at this moment? I know that I do. I began saying this when I was first hired as the activities coordinator of a memory care neighborhood in an assisted living community. At first, I thought my job was mainly going to be baking bread and playing simple games, but how very wrong I was. My job was actually to enrich the lives of a revolving door of about 20 residents that were experiencing the complicated and deadly reality that is dementia. I quickly learned that creating a program focused on moment-to-moment comfort and joy accomplished this more often than not. Memories were fleeting and almost always forgotten. The focus of my new job and quickly my life became creating an abundance of positive moments. This helped my residents, it helped their loved ones, it helps me, and I hope it helps you now. So why should any of this matter to you? Because you will be affected at some point in some way by dementia. Did you know that Alzheimer's, the most common form of dementia, is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States? It kills more than breast and prostate cancer combined. 1 in 3 seniors has this disease when they die, and according to the Alzheimer's Association's 2018 report, deaths from Alzheimer's disease have increased 113% since the year 2000. By comparison, deaths from heart disease have decreased by 11%. Now, in a perfect reality, neither you nor any of your loved ones would ever have to deal with one of these diseases, but of course, we do not live in a perfect reality. Today, more than 5.7 million people in the United States are living with this disease, and every 65 seconds, someone else develops it. Even in the best case scenario, you will still be affected. If you're one of the very lucky ones, it will simply be in the form of having to pay higher taxes to help subsidize some of these programs for those that are dealing with the diseases, because the costs surrounding this are staggering. An estimated $277 billion will be spent in 2018, and it's estimated that more than $1 trillion will be spent by the year 2050. Add into that another $232 billion for the value of unpaid care given by family and friends. However, it's the personal and emotional costs that are the most expensive. I want you to use your mind to envision the emotions, the sights, the sounds, and the smells of the following scenarios. How would you feel if in the middle of the night you hear a loud knocking on your door? You open it to find your forgetful neighbor looking lost and scared and having no idea who you are, even though you've met many times and he lives just a few houses away. His wife and his caregiver is getting some much needed sleep and has no idea that he's wandered out into the night. Or what if you were in the grocery store and a woman that you've never met comes up to you looking terrified and asks for your help? She has no idea how she got there or where she needs to be. Her son finds you both a moment later without breath, but with tears in his eyes. How would that make you feel if it was your mother? In our less than perfect reality, however, it may be your best friend, your parent, your partner, your grandparent. One day, they can no longer remember your name or who you even are. Remember when becomes an exercise in frustration because no, they literally cannot. You're a stranger to them, but since you have a kind face and know a little something about baseball, they don't mind chatting with you for a few minutes, at least until lunchtime or the I Love Lucy reruns come on. Imagine having to help them shower, get dressed, and even eat. You may be slapped, kicked, and cursed at. It's happened to me, all of those. You may have to literally watch someone you love die of this disease. How do you feel about this? Now, chances are one of these scenarios or a similar one will happen to you. And one day there's a very scary chance that it may be you that can no longer remember. In my experience, fear is one of the strongest emotions involved in all of this. So how do we help alleviate and overcome some of these fears? First, connect and communicate with them in their reality. It will shift as these diseases progress, so some creativity and even a few white lies will be required. I had an experience once where our marketing director was giving a tour to the family member of a prospective resident, and it did not go as expected. One of our current residents became convinced that they were in her house and got so mad that she slapped our marketing director in the face and screamed at them both to get out. Now, I rushed over and I was able to help calm her down a bit by first addressing her concerns and letting her know that I was there to help her. I assured her the director and family member took the opportunity to leave the neighborhood, and we watched as they did so. There was no point in trying to convince her in that moment that this was not her home alone and that they were not intruders. Since I couldn't convince her of the objective reality, I met her in her own, then took her to her personal room where she was surrounded by familiar and comforting pictures and objects. I gave her one of her favorite snacks, we had a nice chat about her family, and I turned on one of her favorite television shows. After a few moments, it was as if the incident had never happened at all. In her mind, it probably hadn't. Today's going to be a great day became my mantra, and I repeated it as often as possible. I also started writing a positive quote or joke on a large display board, and I would read it aloud each morning to try and engage some positive actions or conversation with our residents. Without fail, I began to notice at least one extra and valuable smile. I heard at least one glorious golden laugh. I began to appreciate the worth of those split seconds in time. It didn't matter that this person would have no recollection of why they had laughed. In that moment, they were happy. Sometimes even a little too happy. I had one resident that would become so happy to the point of tears at times that she would repeatedly interrupt whatever we were doing to exclaim how wonderful that day's saying was and how happy it made her. She would clap and cry and read it over and over and over again. We actually ended up strategically placing her away from the saying at times so we could at least get through one activity. But it was her unfiltered, authentic, and repeated joy that I remember the most. And we don't tend to think of play as important to adults, yet I spent a lot of time incorporating fun, silly, and meaningful games and activities into our program. These games provided exercise, reminiscence therapy, tactile stimulation, and so much more. I used to write one of my favorite quotes up on that large display board, and I am absolutely convinced that it's true. It's by George Bernard Shaw. He says, "You don't stop playing when you grow old. You grow old when you stop playing." Speaking of stimulation, utilize the senses. The biggest benefit our residents received from all that bread I was baking was mainly the smell. Something about the smell of brand new baked bread reminded these individuals a time when everything was fresh, vividly alive, and tantalizingly possible. Not only was the smell transformative, but they relished in its taste too, especially when we paired it with a little peanut butter, some fresh herbs, or some flavorful fruit. Also, the magic of music has, in my experience, been one of the greatest blessings to ever touch our residents in the moment. I have felt awe and utter pleasure at how a little jubilant jazz or some old school opera can ignite a light and instantly turn a negative moment into a positive one. I've witnessed a family of devoted daughters sing the most meaningful a cappella version of Amazing Grace to their father as he peacefully breathed his very last breaths. I've watched someone who can no longer do hardly anything independently anymore sing almost every single word to That's Amore. Now that truly is love. There will be a lot of positive and negative moments when dealing with these diseases. And even though no matter how many times we say today's going to be a great day, there will be some days that are unbearably hard, mind-bogglingly frustrating, and you swear it's actually an I'm going to give up kind of a day. But remember, that's okay too. Another moment is just around the corner, and it matters less what the memories of these moments are, because they will undoubtedly change and will ultimately be lost forever. But how they make us feel will survive as long as we do. So please, say it with me now, say it tomorrow, say it every single day. Today's going to be a great day. Thank you for this moment.